Boom! There it is, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know about you guys, but I heard that real estate is one of those types of investments that can take your financial freedom to a whole nother level, especially when you're talking about passive stuff. But who you work with matters. And if you're interested in learning a little bit more about real estate investing, this one's for you. Let's get this one on the road. Here we go.
Shut up and sit down.
Look, a business can give you everything you want in life: prestige, wealth, freedom. It can also take everything away from you. This show is for those who are willing to take that risk. These are the real life stories of entrepreneurs. But before we start, I have one small favor to ask. Please leave a comment. It can be advice, critiques, tips, feedback, or share this with someone because your engagement is the most valuable and most powerful form of social currency. So thank you, and welcome to another episode of Business Boss. That's what I'm talking about. Look, ladies and gents, there are plenty of would-be real estate investors out there who would love to start, but just don't know how. They worry about risks, the management, the research, etc. And that's where Black Swan Real Estate comes in. They love to bring people together and people and properties together, thus providing tremendous value for all those involved. They pride themselves in their property management by providing an amazing customer service experience and creating raving fans as a result. Now, I can't wait to hear all about their business. Let's welcome to the show, Mr. Nick Stagebeg. All right, Nick, welcome to the program, man.
Man, that's a heck of an introduction. I feel like it's all downhill from here. That was a hell of an intro, man. I appreciate it.
Man, it's fun, dude. It's like anything else. When I popped over to your website, it looks like you guys love what you do, right? If you get up every day and you love what you do, it almost doesn't really matter how much money you make because you love what you do. You're waking up having a
Amen.
good time, right?
Amen.
But we are talking real estate investing, so there is going to be some ROI involved. I want to start off with you. How did you guys get into this space? I'm always curious how real estate people start. Sometimes it's I got family and it was kind of the next step, and other people it's like I kind of stumbled upon it. I bought my first house, I liked it. What's your story?
Yeah, so I did a whole career in technology. I have a bachelor's degree in computer science and a bachelor's degree in ministry. I did a couple of successful tech startups after doing school, and then kind of along the way on the side, I built a real estate portfolio. I did this. Kind of internet research and just said, what's the best thing to invest in? What do you do to put away those winnings so you don't end up like someone who wins the lottery and they're bankrupt the next year or something like that when you have a successful business and you're looking to put that money to work for you. All my research said to invest in real estate is just a safe place to put money and due to the tax advantages as well. So I believe in kind of doing everything myself at least once, having that kind of core competence. So bought a home for $35,000. There was a lot of work that needed to be done on that home, as you can imagine, for that kind of purchase price. My wife and I, Elaine, who she's built this business with me every step of the way. It was a freezing cold winter, and we were laying ceramic tile in that house, painting it, just figuring out on YouTube how to renovate a house on our own, and then we refinanced that house to get our money back out, rented it out to a tenant, and then just did it over and over again. These days, that's called like the BRRRR business model. Back then, there wasn't really a name for it, but we bought kind of one house one year and a couple of houses the next year and four houses the next year, and eventually a smaller apartment building and then a bigger apartment building, and then eventually that just kind of became our full-time thing. So I had a whole career in technology. My wife is a physician, trained at the Mayo Clinic. We both had great careers that we really loved and were dedicated to, but real estate just turned out to be just a bigger wealth multiplier in an area where we can serve more people. It really kind of blew up in a big way when we started working with investors. So all along the way, people would be interested in what we were doing. They'd say, "Hey, I see you're working on, you're clocking in, clocking out at your day job, and then, after work you go to your second job and you're working on a house. Can I come by and check it out? Can I help you paint the house?" And you can answer questions about real estate, like how do I get into this? So after a while, we just started serving investors. So, putting their capital to work in projects, and that's when a lot of people really kind of catch fire is when they build that relationship, and that's kind of what brought us to where we are today. We've got about a third of a billion in assets under management, and just building that whole thing one relationship at a time. But it really started with my wife and I, laying ceramic tile and in the middle of a freezing cold winter in a $35,000 house that we bought. That was about 12 years ago that adventure started.
I'm kind of curious. I mean, that's actually a very slow process to get to like where you're at today. Not everybody who starts off in real estate has the wherewithal to kind of keep going, right? I remember doing my first flip and we did a couple and I was like, yeah, I think I'm going to put a stop to this. I was afraid of where the market was going to be, right? I mean, everybody has their reasons why they go in. Everybody has their reasons why they exit. If you were to start over today, you have an investor that's going to come in and they're saying, look, I got some cash. I want to do some real estate. What do I do? What's your advice to a new person, especially where the market is today?
Yeah. So I would ask them, where do they want to go? What do they want their end state to be? And I find there's kind of two schools of thought or two goals. One person, they want to be an active investor. They are looking for a new job. And then there's another kind of group of people, and they're looking for passive income. They do not want another job, as it were. And some of the biggest heartbreaks in real estate come about when people mix those two up. They go into real estate thinking that they want like a passive income stream, and they are self-managing, rental property and doing their own maintenance, and that will burn you out so quick. It's unbelievable. Or maybe they saw an HGTV episode and they're like, man, it only takes like 22 minutes to flip a house. This is the best thing ever. I mean, I'm sure you yourself could share some more stories about. It is really, really hard work to renovate a home. We've renovated hundreds of homes, and it is still really hard. The hardest has been in a long time with labor and material, supply chain issues being what they are today. So either you really want a new job, you want to be an active investor, or you want to be a passive investor. If you want to be an active investor, I'd recommend doing some education. If you go to our website, meetblackswan.com, we have a course there. 100% of the revenue from our course goes to charity, and it's a pay what you can model. We don't love how there's a million courses out there you can pay $5,000 or $10,000 for. We give away our whole business model in our course, and we think that our business model makes the world a better place. And if someone were to somehow put us out of business with our own business model, we think that would be a great thing. That'd be like someone else putting Elon Musk out of business, the electric car business. He'd probably think that was a success in a lot of ways. So if you're looking to get on the active track, go get some education, and then you just need to get your hands dirty. Bring value to someone else. Find someone who's a little bit further along you in the path than you, and just say, hey, how can I bring you value? Can I like follow you around for a few days? Can I help you with something that you need help with? And very quickly, you're gonna figure out if this is something that's a good fit for you or not. A lot of people, I think, they kind of get stuck in analysis paralysis. They maybe go buy some calculator on a website for $200 and they try to analyze some deals, but they don't get in the game, and they don't get into relationship with someone who's a little bit further along than them in that process. Years go by, and maybe they have never done a deal, but they've spent hundreds of hours thinking about being a real estate investor. Mm-hmm. And then for people that are on the passive track, you said it yourself at the beginning of the show there. The who matters in real estate investing. People think that real estate investing, it's about property, but it's not. Nothing could be further from the truth. It's about people, the tenants that live in that property that pay the rent if you're in buy and hold a real estate investment. If you're in flipping, the person who's selling that home and the person who's buying that home, like those are the only variables that matter in that transaction. The property is just a prop that kind of attracts that ideal buyer and attracts you when you're buying that property. So it's very much all about people. I recommend finding someone to work with. There's lots of amazing operators out there in real estate syndication, private equity funds. You can partner up with someone else who has done this many times before, who has a track record of success, and trust your gut. Like if you find someone that you trust, that is going to put your interests ahead of theirs, that's everything that matters in this business. When times are good, like everyone does pretty well. But when times are tough, finding someone that you trust, that is going to put your needs first, that makes all the difference in the world. So that would be my kind of advice to someone who's on the active track and someone who's on the passive track there.
We're definitely in heading into some, I don't want to say dark times, but a little bit more expensive times when it comes to buying some real estate, especially on the financing side. In the last year, we've seen interest rates basically double when it comes to buying property. I think we're somewhere around like the 6.2 or somewhere around there as far as buying property is concerned, where a year ago we were in the threes or low fours. You know, when it comes to real estate investing, I think a lot of new investors are worried about getting into a market. They don't want to catch a falling knife.
Yes.
What advice would you give to somebody who's coming in and they're maybe waiting for the bottom, right? Waiting for the perfect opportunity to time the market. How does a seasoned investor go about fluctuating markets like that?
Absolutely. So it's always a good time to buy. It's always a good time to buy. It's just a question of knowing what season you're in, and being really careful in any season. I believe in the seasons of life of spring, summer, fall, and winter. Spring is a time of planning and planting. Summer is a time of hard work. You're tending your crop, and the sun's beating down on you, and your harvest isn't here yet, and you're wondering, why am I working so hard, and where's my crop? But eventually, if you planted and planned in the spring and you worked your heart out in the summer, you harvest in the fall, and then you have food to store up for winter, and you can ski and snowboard. And if you don't plant and plan in the spring, and you don't work your heart out in summer, you won't have a harvest in fall, and you might starve to death in winter. And you don't want to plant in fall or in summer. And winter is a terrible time to get started, but it's a great season to grow. I couldn't tell you if we're in a recession or not. There's a technical definition of a recession, and have we met that technical definition of the recession? But I can tell you for sure that we're in winter right now. And so for established players that have a lot of dry powder, that they've saved up a lot of capital, now is probably a pretty favorable time to deploy that capital. There's deals out there. I had 5 deals walk in my door yesterday. That has not happened to me in a very long time, and that's because we're in winter, and it's a challenging time to be a seller. It's a good time to be a buyer. I can't tell you if we're at the bottom of the market. Everyone's crystal ball is broken, but I can tell you that if you stay in the market, if you are constantly looking at deals, that it's always a good time to buy. You just have to be really careful. You have to be aware of what season you are in. So if this is your first time, this is your first rodeo, I would not go at it alone. I don't think this is a great time to buy your first deal and to do it on your own. You probably need to find someone who has done this before, who is not planting in winter, but they are growing in winter. Someone who has ideally done this many times before, and has the wherewithal to make it through that winter. They have stored up that harvest, and that's the person you want to be staying warm with through the winter there. So what does that look like? From a very practical perspective, for us, we actually did not purchase any deal of size for the first 9 months of this year, which is really unusual for us, because we're usually buying. We were writing a ton of offers. We picked up some single family homes that we're typically buying large apartment buildings, but prices were really high, and we saw that the pandemic was coming to an end. And you don't have to be a rocket scientist or economist to know that when the pandemic ended, the economic policy was going to tighten, and interest rates would go up, and the market was probably going to go down, or there'd be a tightening cycle in the economy, and we're going to go into a time of winter. So we did not buy a single deal really all year until September this year, and then we've closed on 3 deals here in the last 3 weeks. We've got 2 more we're closing on in the next couple of weeks. We've got 2 extremely large deals that we're working on right now, and we're in the driver's seat for the first time in a very long time as the buyer. We're able to say, that price made sense 9 months ago, but today that price does not make sense anymore. We're going to need a price that is 20% lower than that, or we're going to need to come up with some terms that make this price make sense for us. So it's all about knowing what season you're in, and I think there's a lot of advice out there to just step back. I think that's the worst advice you could possibly give, because when you're not in the market, when you are when your pencil's down, you're underwriting a deal, you're not doing the math, you're not looking at properties, you're not evaluating, is this a good property to buy? You're not going to know the deal when you find it. You have to look at a lot of bad deals so that the moment you see a good deal, the opportunity is here and you have to move. We had a $25 million deal that hit our radar here recently. We had an offer submitted within 48 hours. And with any luck here, we're going to be under contract here in just a couple of days because we knew it was a deal because we had looked at so many not so great deals. But you have to look at the bad deals to know the good deals. And the only way to do that is to stay in the market and to be a buyer.
Now I was on your website and I was watching the video. One of the things that I really admired is you match the person with the property, right? And
That's
and
right.
as you were talking right now, you were basically saying, we didn't buy a lot of very single family homes, but we got some big deals coming around the corner. When it comes to that average investor that comes in, especially if it's their first deal, how is it that you match the single versus maybe like the syndication, right? Buying a single family home under management versus contributing to a syndication. How do you kind of determine the difference between the two and how do you align it with that particular buyer?
Yeah, so we've got a couple different investment opportunities that are open right this second, and you can find out more about those at meetblackswan.com. We have a real estate fund that's open right now. It's a $30 million fund. We're about 23 million away. We've got 7 million left in that one. We have a technology fund. That one's about half full. That one's been open for 3 weeks now. So we have 2 opportunities that are open right now, and we've got a couple other opportunities. I loved your episode with Patrick Kilner, and you were talking about. So I'm a licensed real estate agent. I have a real estate sales team, and we're one of the top producing teams in Keller Williams. And you were talking about your real estate coaching and how you talk to people who wanted to like automate their way out of the client interactions. And can't I just make a process where I don't have to talk to my customers? And you're like, no, that's not how it works. And I couldn't agree more. I was laughing out loud when I heard that because I've talked to a lot of agents and I've talked to a lot of other people, private equity fund managers and syndicators, and they're like, gosh, well, why can't I just come up with the right portal or email sequence or something so I don't have to talk to my investors anymore? And I just kind of, it's a facepalm moment, No. This is a contact sport. Like you have to touch people. We had one of our VIP investors. They've invested many millions of dollars with us over the years, and she wanted to just fly out and hang out with us and shadow us for a day. We're like, yeah, come on out. We do tons of phone calls right on meetblackswan.com. You can block a 15-minute appointment with myself or my wife. We do a ton of those calls every week, and we love to just connect with people and ask them. The way I start every single meeting, every single phone call is, what can I do to provide you with value? And that's just a piece of advice I'd give to anyone on the podcast. One of my mentors, they started that meeting with me. They said, what can I do to provide you, me in this case, with value? And I'm like, that's powerful. That's how I'm starting every single meeting, from now on. Most people, when they walk into a meeting, they have something on their mind. They have their agenda, and they really need to walk in that meeting with the other person's agenda. What did you hope to accomplish in this meeting? And you can get a lot done in 15 minutes. We can find out, what are your needs? Are you on that active side? Are you on that passive side? If your goal is, I want to own a $1 billion private equity fund, then maybe you should take a look at the course, and you could invest in one of our fund vehicles to kind of learn the ropes from getting involved that way. But we're not expecting you to be like a long-term passive investor if you're trying to do this on your own. And how can we guide you down that path? So we love to just connect with people and just to get that one-on-one, if we can do a Zoom call, phone call, whatever it looks like, to just connect with people, to find out what their goals are. Is there a way that we can help them along that journey? If not, no big deal. Today, I had a 15-minute phone call with someone who is another active investor. They were converting a church, like a 100-year-old church building into an apartment building. And I love that story. I learned a lot from that call. And then I was able to connect them with someone else who is in the lending business that was a valuable contact for them. They're not going to invest in our fund. They might fly out and visit. That'll be kind of fun. There's nothing to sell. It's just there to how can I provide you with value? And then whatever value comes back to us, it's just the most serendipitous thing in the world, and it happens every day. We can never predict it. So we love to just get in touch with people, and amazing things happen.
All right, I'm stealing that from you, Nick. I'm going to use it too. What can I do to provide you some value today? I love that. I love
Right.
that because it's absolutely true. I mean, you walk into meetings thinking, what am I going to get out of this? Right?
Yeah.
This is my sales call. I got to get
Yeah.
this guy closed.
Yes.
But oftentimes it doesn't even work on the first call, anyways. You got to figure out how you're going to work with this person, and that's by providing value.
Yep.
You make them feel good. You feel like they feel like you're listening, like they're understood, and all of a sudden they want to do business with you. Like, I like this guy. This guy's really great. Yeah, let's do something together. I love the
Yep.
way that works. All right,
And,
let's
and
talk about some horror stories, man. I mean, look, when you talk to a lot of these people, 15 minutes can save you not only 15% on auto insurance, it could actually help you with your real estate career or at least your investment portfolio. You've talked to some people. What's some of those stories you hear where they're like, man, I was doing this and this is the worst thing that possibly happened to me?
Absolutely. So we're helping one of our investors right now, and they had done a deal with us that was really successful, and then they did a deal with another group that wasn't so successful. And this is another piece of advice I'd give you out there is whenever you can, step into someone else's failure. Lean into someone else's failure and figure out how you can serve them, because nothing fails like success. If you're a person who's successful, you're probably accumulating weaknesses or blind spots that you're not even aware of. And when someone brings you a problem, like lean into that problem. Like, how can I help you? And you are going to learn so much, because they've probably thought of ways to make mistakes that you never even would have thought of.
True.
And all of a sudden you have this blind spot that's gone that you didn't even know that blind spot was there. So in this situation, this investor had done a deal with another group. It had gone very poorly. He was buying a property out of state. He had never seen the property. It was a mixed use building. There was commercial on the main floor, and then the upper level is apartment units. One of the apartment units caught fire, and then he bought this building, this burnt building, with a plan to reconstruct it. And this other group, they had put together a construction plan. They had a kind of construction budget put together. 6 months after closing, they finally had gotten their permits. It was a protracted process, and they had finally been able to do some actual work on the property. So the contractor, took the roof off the building, was getting ready to put the new roof on, and then asked for a $50K advance to do the roof. They wired in the $50K, and then this contractor just disappeared in the night. So now he has a half burnt building on the other side of the country that he's never seen, with no roof. This is a rainy climate, by the way, and he's missing 10% of his construction budget from this contractor that's in the wind, and that's when I get the call. And it's really easy to hear that story and to just say, oof, man, that's a tough one. You need to figure this out. And instead I said, okay, what can I do to provide you with value? And so we jumped in, we found some local resources, we evaluated the construction budget. Our assessment was the construction budget should have been about 1.1 million. The construction budget this other group had previously was 500K. So just a woefully inadequate, construction budget. I don't know if, they were doing that to just, make the sale, generate a commission, or, I'll never know. I always give people the benefit of the doubt. So I don't know exactly what led to this, being in this situation. So we talked to neighboring parcel owners. We tried to combine these parcels because the building at this point, it seemed worth more to be knocked down. Worked with 7-Eleven, tried to put that whole thing together. After 6 months of negotiations, that deal fell apart, especially as interest rates have gone up. That has a huge impact on like the triple net commercial space. We're trying to put together a ground lease after like knocking down these 3 buildings on these 3 parcels. And finally, construction costs have come down a little bit. So we're hoping maybe we can get that construction cost down to like 900K, and real estate values have gone up a little bit. So maybe this investor is less upside down on this project. But we're just going to keep finding ways to add value to the deal. He's probably going to have to bring, hundreds of thousands of dollars of additional cash to the deal that are going to be tough dollars for him to come up with. And at some point we're going to get to the other side of this deal, and everything's going to be okay. But it's a tough journey. I have learned so much from this deal because I never would have imagined buying a half-burnt building to try to renovate it, and you're sitting there thinking, okay, what the heck do I do with this thing? It's probably worth more dead than alive. Hey, what if we knock it down? What if we try to do a ground lease? What, like you start, and so I have learned so much by trying to serve this beautiful man who is in this situation. But, just a few key takeaways, like you have to work with someone that you trust, and you have to work with people with a track record of success. Make sure you know who your business partners truly are, and visit the site. Like he should have flown out and seen this thing. I think if he saw it in person, he maybe would have had a better understanding of exactly how complex the situation was, or maybe how bad the building was burnt. I think that there's a lot of blinders that you can kind of get into, and then finally look at alignment of interest. I think that's like the most important thing in any business deal. And think about alignment of interest if things go really well, and then think about alignment of interest if things go really, really poorly. So in this case, the group that he's working with, they got a commission when they sold him the property, and then they kind of connected him with the contractor, but then they had really no stake in whether or not the deal was a success, right? So they got their commission check, the day of closing, and then they're out. And it doesn't matter if things go well or don't go so well. Their compensation, their incentives are totally in disalignment there. So the way I set up that deal with him was, I said, dude, like, I have no idea if I can make a profit here. I don't even know if I can get your money back, but if I can get your money back and I can make a profit here, then I would like to keep that profit after you get your money back, and only after you get your money back. So our incentives are totally aligned, because I'm sitting here thinking, and for a split second there, I thought it seemed like maybe we could have made like a couple $1 million by knocking down these properties and selling to 7-Eleven. So I had an extreme incentive to get his money back, because maybe I could make some money. At some point, hopefully we'll be able to generate, equity value in this property. In our private equity fund, we have no fees whatsoever. We have no acquisition fee. We don't get a fee at the fund level when we buy or when we sell. 100% of the profit goes to our investors until they've gotten a full return of capital, and then we only get a split of the profit once they've gotten their money back. So our incentives are in complete alignment all the time. And a lot of times I see people get into deals where they're compensating people on a fee basis, and they think that that's going to create like ownership, and really equity is the only thing that kind of aligns incentives and gives people that ownership mentality. Is going to make people fight for you when times are tough. So that's a fun horror story that I am actively battling through right now. I've got probably 100 hours into that deal. I'm probably not going to make any money at it, but man, I have learned a lot. I'm so glad I've had a chance to serve this other human being, and I'm sure great things will eventually come about as a result of my work on this.
I'm sure you truly are a black swan. I mean, for you to be able to take this on and structure the deal the way you did, I mean, that's absolutely important. Aligning yourself with the investors so that it's mutually beneficial. That is so cool. And you're right. It's possible you might not make any money off that particular deal, but the quality of service that you're providing this person, you're literally trying to make this person whole. Right. Yeah. I mean, if it wasn't for that, they literally bought a house roof free. Right. I mean, that's what they ended up doing, buying a place roof free. And you're over here trying to solve that problem. That's how you get your name out there. This is where the referrals come in. This is where everybody wants to work with the guy who's solving problems. How can I bring value to you? That's what I'm taking away from today's episode. Before we head out, because I want to make sure people get your information. I know we got your website scrolling at the bottom, but how do people get a hold of you, and who's that ideal person that you want to work with?
Yeah. So if you go to meetblackswan.com, you can block a time on our calendar, sign up for our newsletter, invest in one of our investment opportunities that we have open. There's just a ton of information that's open to you there. Check out our course, whatever is going to bring value to you. And we love to just have a 15-minute call with anybody that thinks they might, get value from having a conversation with us. I love that question of who's your ideal customer. I remember that question. That's a great one. So, our ideal customer is someone who's maybe a working professional, just like my wife and I were before we were kind of doing full-time real estate. Maybe they have a tax problem. We can frequently, wipe out people's taxes. My wife and I, we have not paid income taxes in many years because of the huge tax advantages that there are with real estate. And many of our investors, they love the returns, they love the relationship, but they might decide how much to invest just so they can wipe out, their taxes for that year. So, I've got, X number of dollars of tax this year, so I need to invest this much to wipe out those taxes for the year. So, it's a minimum 100K to invest in many of our investment opportunities, but really we're looking to build that relationship for the long term. So if you think you might be interested in one of our investment offerings, really, all are welcome. So check it out at meetblackswan.com.
Nick, you're an evil person. You don't pay income taxes, man? No, dude, you're lined up there with like the Trumps of the world. No. It really comes down to that whole real estate thing, man. It's amazing the opportunities that are there. I mean, I know a lot of us fear that whole tax code thing, but when you learn the rules of the game, there are so many opportunities in that space. I love telling the story. Like when I have my students, for example, I always talk about Monopoly. I'm like, the first time you played Monopoly, I bet you sucked at it, right? You were not good at that game. But the second time you played, now you had an opportunity to win. And that's really because you understood the rules to the game. And that's the thing about real estate. There are so many great rules in the game of real estate that kind of go into tax laws. I mean, things like depreciation, Section 179. I mean, all kinds of great stuff that you can utilize to help limit and minimize or even eliminate some of those tax liabilities. I mean, you definitely got to take advantage of that stuff. And if you don't know what we're talking about, that's why you need to go to meetblackswan.com and have that 15-minute conversation, because 15 minutes can save you a ton on your taxes, not just on your insurance. So make sure you guys head over there, talk to Nick, go to meetblackswan.com. You never know, if you got a building with no roof on it, he might help you out with that problem. I mean, he's already got a problem.
I'd love to help solve it.
Exactly. All right, Nick, man, thank you very much for coming on the show. Ladies and gents, one more time, meetblackswan.com. Scrolling across the bottom of the screen, meetblackswan.com. And he didn't say this, but his email address is nick@blackswanteam.com. You guys shoot him an email as well. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Nick, thanks again for being on the program. Peace. And we're out.
It's over. Go home. Is your business in need of marketing? Try starting a podcast. But not just any podcast. Podcast like a pro. We can show you how to take your business from being invisible to becoming a brand people trust. Go to www.businessbros.biz